I am at beautiful historic Aurora at French Prairie Perennials with Kerry, and beautiful morning. You have a beautiful yard here with so many plants. It's amazing.
Thank you very much. We really enjoy our location here, and we really enjoy color.
Yeah, definitely. And so to get this beautiful color, there's just a little bit of chores that you have to do with perennials. So we're going to learn about deadheading. So let's just jump in.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I thought it would be easiest to show you a plant that's in its glory, but when this bloom is spent and trying to make seeds, which you don't really want it to.
No, definitely.
It takes all the energy out of the plant, puts it into seeds, and then sometimes you get seedlings of lupin that maybe aren't the color that you selected because they revert back to their parent heritage. Anyway, if I was to cut this plant back because this was spent, I would go down to a joint in the stem where there's vegetative buds, which is really difficult to see, and I would cut it right down here.
Right.
Cut it off, and that would cause other buds to come out, and then you would extend the life of your lupin. You would have additional bloom.
Ah, that is great. And so pretty easy, and so it's just a timing thing.
Yes.
So let's show them some different plants because they're all different looking. So you have a campanula down front here.
This campanula, most of the buds are spent, and so for me, I'm looking at it thinking I need to restart this plant and reset. It's not looking good. So I do what I call the ponytail haircut, where I gather everything up. I never cut more than maybe 2/3 off, and I literally go through and just cut all the way through there, so that hopefully.
And it's not going to hurt the plant, and you're actually, in probably just a week or so, it's going to look nice, no?
Absolutely. It regrows really fast, and the blooms set faster than you think.
Excellent. And let's move down a little bit, and we'll see some of these other ones. What else do you have?
So a Stilby, you can see they will continue to send up blooms as long as their roots are cool. That's a big thing about perennials. If you really want to extend their shelf life or bloom season, is that you want to go through and cut out the old spent blossoms like this, and new ones will keep coming up. But to extend their cycle, like I was saying, keeping the roots cool, you can do that a couple different ways. One is watering. Another one is to put a mulch down of some sort. Mulch can be bark dust. It doesn't have to be bark dust. But mulches work in two different seasons. In the wintertime, they keep roots warmer. And in the summertime, it keeps the roots cooler. And the longer you keep a perennial root cooler, it tends to bloom longer for the season.
Ah, great tip.
Yeah.
Great tip.
So I have another Stilby next to that. The foliage got burned. And for me, that's a restart. And so I just do my famous
Your ponytail
haircut, cut it down pretty low, and I might even get a bloom still out of that particular one.
But the foliage looks so pretty. It looks like a fern for the rest of the season.
Great companion plants to the ferns and the pelargoniums and things like that,
Nice. And then what about delphiniums? Because delphiniums, I think people think, oh, it's just a one-shot deal, but really it can keep blooming?
Absolutely. I think the key to that is they don't know where to cut. And so here's a spent blossom. Nothing else is going to come out on that particular stalk. So I'm just going to go down to the bottom.
Oh, all the way down.
Cut it all the way down. Usually I'm doing it to the whole plant because usually they're all in bloom at once.
Right.
But in this case, I have two other blossoms that are still ready to appear. And so I'm just selectively doing that. But when I'm doing it, I literally go down to about 1 inch to the ground because the new plants, the new branches are down in here just sprouting and emerging.
Kerry, as you're moving those down, let's move that Gallardia forward and talk about how you would deadhead that one.
Sure. This Gallardia is misshapen, and it has clearly, to me, gotten too much nitrogen. And so I would definitely start this one over if it was me. Some people, it's really hard for them to do that. They want, if that's the case, then go through and deadhead down to a vegetative bud. But for me, it's time for this one to get reworked, and it's the ponytail haircut.
And really, midsummer is not a bad time to do that.
No,
it's got a lot of life in it.
Yeah, it could probably happen twice in a summer easily because I find Gallardia just bounce back so well from a pruning. But as far as fertilizers go, I like to recommend for perennials fertilizers that are lower in nitrogen level. So on a fertilizer bag, you know how there's 3 numbers?
Sure.
The first one being nitrogen. and it's percentage of nitrogen. And so I like perennials to get maybe a 10 or 12% nitrogen. You'll get shorter stems, but they'll be stronger. And for people that
Perfect.
live in the gorge, they're always telling me I give wind, you know. So that's one way that you can kind of combat that.
So Kerry, what about a taller plant like a dahlia? How would you trim that?
Yeah, well, these on a dahlia are spent. You can see they're kind of squishy. And I just go down to the next joint in the stem, as long as there's flower buds there. This one is also spent, so I'd take that one, but I would leave that one. When this one is spent, you can see there's a little flower bud right there, so I would just simply prune to there. But once all the flowers on that stalk are blossomed out, I go down to the next joint in the stem where there appears to be new growth.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then I see you have two different Veronicas here, so explain about those.
Yeah. One is an example of something I would do the ponytail haircut to.
Okay.
And one is an example of where I might just do some selective deadheading. So for me, this one's not as attractive as it might be. And if you look carefully below, there's a little bud right here for new flowers. So I'm just going to go through and clean this one up a little bit. And you could choose to take this one off if you wanted to, or you could say, hey, it's worth leaving. I tend to clean them up.
All right, and then the other one, you would do a ponytail?
Yeah, it's definitely time. And these rebloom throughout the season, so I'm never ashamed or upset to go through and give it a good old haircut.
Perfect. And then on the last one, you have two Gauras here, so
I
explain
do.
what you mean about that.
Well, this guy used to be this guy. And they'll be real leggy and fall over and just won't look very good. So I just go through and make sure that I'm getting all the tips and prune low, and a lot of these will sprout out very nicely, very quickly, and you'll get a good plant.
You know, all of these tips have been so good. I don't think we've ever gotten this in depth about perennials, so thank you so much. And you know, French Prairie Perennials is right in Aurora. Beautiful things out in here, the yard. Just don't drive by. Come on in and see all these beautiful plants. So if you need to find directions, please go to gardentime.tv and come on out to French Prairie Perennials. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.